I was a brand new Major General. I'd just been promoted to Major General. That was the good news. The bad news was I got assigned back to the Pentagon. Walked in the Pentagon, and they made me the #2 man in charge of personnel for the United States Army, Active Reserve, and National Guard, about 4.5 million people at the time. I'd been in my job 1 week, and I came walking to the Pentagon. My boss comes walking out of his office with a suitcase, and he says, Schwarzkopf, I'm heading for Germany. I'm going to visit the troops over in Europe, and then after I visit the troops in Europe, I'm going to swing over to the Far East, and I'll visit the troops in the Far East, and I'll be back in about a month. And he picked up his bag and walked out the door, headed down the hall of the Pentagon, and I absolutely panicked. I ran out the door behind. I said, wait a minute. I have been here 1 week, for crying out loud. What am I supposed to do if the Chief of Staff of the Army calls, or the Secretary of the Army, or the Secretary of Defense, or some dumb politician from over there on the hill calls? What am I supposed to do? And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, Rule 13. I said, yes, sir, Rule 13. Do you mind telling me what Rule 13 is? And he said, sure, Rule 13. When placed in command, take charge. When placed in command, take charge. Remember, I talked about leaders accepting responsibility, leaders making things happen. This same boss one day was receiving a briefing on a very complicated subject, and I know he didn't understand one word of that briefing because I didn't understand one word of that briefing. I was a hell of a lot smarter than he was, but I never told him that because he was a hell of a lot higher ranking than I was. But anyhow. But to my amazement, at the end of the briefing, he made a decision and sent this decision out to be implemented throughout the entire United States Army. So when everybody left the room, I said to him, I know you didn't know anything about that subject before they came in here, and I know you didn't understand that briefing. How could you possibly have made a decision? He said, Norm, you know what? I may have made the wrong decision just now. Doesn't make any difference. Doesn't make any difference. He says that problem has been in the Pentagon for 6 years. For 6 years, nobody has understood that problem well enough to make any kind of decision at all. He said, I may have just made the wrong decision. It doesn't make any difference. Because what I've done is I've moved this problem out to this great army of ours where there are thousands of individuals who, even if I have made the wrong decision, will turn it around and make it the right decision, and we'll be well on our way to solving this problem. But if I had not made a decision today, 1 year from now, we'd be visiting the same problem right here in the Pentagon. It would have been in the Pentagon for 7 years, and we'd be no further along in the solution of this problem than we are today. Rule 13, when placed in command, take charge. Do something. Just do something. Grab the responsibility and do something, and it really doesn't make any difference what it is you do. Take charge. I said, okay, man, I'm getting ready. I'm going to take charge. And he picked up his bag and he started to walk down the hall, and I walked behind him and I said, but could you give me a little bit of guidance? What should I do about the recruiting program, and what should I do about the enlistment program? What should I do about the re-enlistment program? What should I do about the promotion program? And what should I do about the Women in the Army study? And what should I do about the Equal Opportunity study? And what should I do about human relations? And he turned around to me and he said, Rule 14. I said, yes, sir. And he said, Schwarzkopf, do what's right. Do what's right. Notice he didn't say, do what you think the Chief of Staff of the Army wants you to do. He certainly didn't say, do what you think I'd want you to do. He very definitely did not say, do what makes you look good. No. He said, do what's right. And you see, now we've come full circle right back to this character business again. Because you know what? When the truly tough decisions have to be made, we normally know right here what the right thing to do is. The tough part is doing it. And especially when no one's there. When no one's there to grade your paper. When no one's there to say he really knew what the right thing to do was, but he went ahead and did the wrong thing anyhow. When you can get away with doing the wrong thing. That's when this thing called character becomes so important. Rule 14. Do what's right.